Good day, everyone. I am Jessa Valiente, and we are the last group together with my co-members, Miss Melka Alturas and Miss Sherry Ann Vallejo. And for today's lesson, we are going to tackle about the development of large-scale student assessment tests. Large-scale student assessment, or the LSA, has indeed come a long way in being used for different purposes, with improvement of student performance never failing to rank first in importance. So the preceding chapters we are going to tackle has concentrated on providing functional understanding of the nature of large-scale assessment, its purposes and uses, as well as how it can be more effective in its use to improve student achievement. Review of classroom test development process. First is planning the test, which specifies, of course, the purpose of the test. And then learning outcomes and the test blueprint. So when we say test blueprint, this is the test format and the number of items. And also we have item construction, which is performed by the classroom teacher following a table of specification. And we also have review and revision for item improvement. And of course, the teacher will do this process or this one. And then we have an approach, which is the judgmental approach. So this approach before and after administration of test by the teacher or peers to ensure the accuracy and alignment of test content to learning outcomes. And also by the students to ensure comprehensibility of items and test instructions. And also we also have empirical approaches. So after administration of test and obtained item statistics in the form of quality indices. So a teacher of whatever level defines to himself or herself, even in the most simple way, why he or she is going to prepare a test, what he or she will assess, and how he or she will test them. This is the design or planning phase, which every assessment tool for whatever purpose it is will be used will have to be drawn. The item construction, which allows flesh to the test. To less informed or less teachers, test construction is item construction, full stop. To them, what comes before and after item construction, which is reviewing the items, is of little consequence anymore. Hopefully, the present course in assessment would bring about change in the way you view test development as a process in order for testing results to get maximized. Score-based inferences on students' performance can only be appropriately done if the tests from which they are derived have been constructed properly. So this is free from bias. So development process for large-scale tests. So changing the context from classroom to system-wide testing. So this is the large-scale test. So there are other significant considerations that must be in place in addition to what are required by a teacher-made test. So we have here, divide the class into 4 conversation groups. So discuss the concerns that must be raised in a large-scale assessment test will be developed. As a class, discuss these questions and classify them into phases of work they will fall under. So second, watch the video presentation showing how ETS creates fair, meaningful tests and test questions. So in figure 13.1 shows the suggested process cycle of ETS is order for assessments to be of high. So here is the figure 13.1, which is the standard test development process. And first is create framework. Second, make blueprint. Third, write questions. Fourth, content review. Fifth, fairness review. Sixth, editorial review. Seventh, stakeholders review. Eighth, pilot testing. And the ninth, statistical review. And the last one is ready for use. Part and the next reporter would be Miss Alturas.
Key steps in large-scale test development. So the test development process is basically influenced by the standards for educational and psychological testing developed by three associations. So first is the American Educational Research Association, second, the American Psychological Association, and lastly, the National Council on Measurement in Education in 1985. So while they are regarded as criteria for evaluating tests in Section 2, they serve as the foundation for the process. So given these standards, ETS has developed its stringent guidelines contained in 2014, which is the ETS Standards for Quality and Fairness, or the PDF, for its specific standards on validity, fairness, reliability, scoring, reporting test results, and addition to test design and development. These have defined the key steps in the development of large-scale tests. So it is given on Table 13.1. So in Table 13.1, there are 7 steps in developing test by ETS. So the first step is defining objectives. So the fundamental questions to be addressed in this step are who will take the test and for what purpose, what skills or areas of knowledge should be tested, how should test takers be able to use their knowledge, what kinds of questions should be included and how many of each kind, how long should be the test, and lastly, how difficult should the test be. So the second step is item development committees. So who will be defining test objectives and specifications, helping ensure that test questions are unbiased, determining test format if it is multiple choice, essay, true or false, or etc., considering equipment test materials, and lastly, writing the test questionnaires or the questions. So the third step is writing and reviewing questions. So item develops and reviews must use to it that each item first has only one correct answer among the options provided in the test. Second, conform to the style rules and throughout the test. So there are scoring guides for open-ended response. So it is we will talk about that later. So the fourth step is the pre-test. So items are pre-tested to a sample group similar to the population to be tested. So results should determine the difficulty of each question. If questions are ambiguous or misleading, if questions should be reviewed or eliminated, if incorrect alternative answers should be revised or replaced. So the step 5 is detecting and removing unfair questions. So after pretending or pretesting rather, after pretesting these tests or reviews, we examine the items. So you have to consider these questions. Are there any test questions which have language, symbols, or words and phrases inappropriate or offensive to any subgroup of the population? Second, are there questions consistently performed better by a group than other group? And lastly, what items further need reviews or removal before final version is made? The step 6 is assembling the test. So after the test is assembled, item reviews prepare a list of correct answers and compared with existing answer keys. Then are there intended answers indeed the correct answers? So the last step is making sure that the test questions are functioning properly. So after test administration, statisticians perform analysis of results to find out if test is working as intended. So first is that there are the fundamental question order to be addressed in step 7. So first is the test valid? Are the score interpretations supported by empirical evidence? Second, is the test reliable? Can the performance on one version of the test predict performance of any other version of the test? And lastly, what corrective actions need to be done when there are problems detected before final scoring is done? So establishing validity of tests. So validity is regarded as the basic requirement of every test. It refers to the degree to which a test measures what is intended to be measured. Can the test perform its intended function? This is the business of validity and the one adopted by the classical model for regarding validity. There are three conventional types of validity according to this model. First is the content validity, second, criteria-related validity, and lastly, the construct validity by Anastasi and Urbina 1997. So now let's talk first the first conventional types of validity, which is the content validity. So content validity refers to how the test covers a representative sample of the behavior domain to be measured. For educational tests, it is established by a systematic examination of the course syllabi, which becomes the basis for the selection of the outcomes to be included in the preparation of the test specifications. So alignment of the items to this intended behavior serves as evidence of content validity. So for the second conventional test or kind of validity, which is the criterion-related validity, there are two kinds of these types, which is the concurrent and the predictive validity, which are dependent on the strength of correlation between the test scores and another external measures of criterion of the behavior intended to be measured. So the two kinds differ in terms of assuring what the test measures. So a significant correlation between the test scores and another related test administered almost at the same time frame indicates concurrent validity, and that the former similarly measures what the other external test is measuring. So predictive validity is similar in procedure, except that that the data for the external measures is gathered after a considerable period of time after the new test been administered. So the new test performance as the predictor variable, while the external measure is the criterion variable. So for instance, predictive validity for an entrance test is evident if the scores can predict students' grade for an average of the first semester based on the magnitude of correlation between these variables. The last conventional types of validity is the construct validity. So construct validity involves empirical examination of psychological construct hypothetically assumed to be measured by the test. So it is established by doing factor analysis of the test item to bring about what defines the overall construct. It determines if the test measures a unitary construct or if it is a multidimensional construct as shown by the resultant factors. So these validities have a while been what are required to be established by educational and psychological tests. So that's all for my report. So the next reporter will be Ms. Valerie Choi-An. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am the last reporter. My topic is all about estimating reliability of large-scale tests. Another challenge for large-scale tests is its reliability to show that they can produce stable and consistent results. This refers to consistency of measurement over time across versions of the test, across the test items, and across scoring judges for the same group of individuals by Phelan and Rin 2006. Reliability is related to the concept of error of measurement, which indicates the degree of fluctuations likely to occur in individuals' score as a result of irrelevant chance factors, which Anastasi and Urbina 1997 call error variance. This occurs when the differences between scores are not attributable to the construct being measured, but simply due to chance, something which cannot be controlled. Thus, an instrument with a large error variance is likely not to be valid, since the scores are not indicative of the person's true score but are likely just a product of chance. As it said, all valid tests are reliable, but not all reliable tests are valid. A person can claim he's 30 in age very time, anytime, whoever as him, but in truth, he's 50. Perfect reliability, but zero validity. There are several ways of estimating the reliability of tests, and they are grouped according to the number of times the test is administered to the same group of students with two test sessions, test, retest, reliability, where the same test is given twice with with a time interval not exceeding 6 months. Alternate for reliability, where two comparable versions of the test are administered to the same individuals. Administrations of the two forms can be immediately done, one after the other or delayed, with an interval not exceeding 6 months. This is also widely known as parallel form reliability, since they emerge from the same table of specifications. The nature and strength of relationship or correspondence between the two sets of scores is then established using the coefficients of correlations by Anastasi 1976. This value ranges from negative 1.0 to positive 1.0. The closer it gets to positive and negative 1.0, the more consistent are the scores obtained from the two test trials. To obtain the reliability coefficients in these two types, the Pearson's product moment correlations is used to get the coefficients of correlations, R, with this well-known formula. This is the formula. One of the most commonly used formula is Pearson's correlations coefficients formula. If you're taking a basic stats class, this is the one you'll probably use. With only a single administration's split half reliability is workable. This divides the test into two halves using the odd 7 split. All odd number items make up form A, while the even number items compose form B. The coefficients of correlations between the two half tests is obtained using the Pearson's product moment correlations with Spearman-Brown formula applied estimate the correlations of the two tests are. The Spearman-Brown formula is given here. The Spearman-Brown formula is a measure of test reliability. It's usually used when the length of a test is changed and you want to see if reliability has increased. With RTT as the reliability coefficients for the total tests and R11 as the coefficients of correlations of the two half tests. Inter-rater reliability assesses the degree to which different judges or raters agree in their assessment decision. This is quite useful to avoid dumps on the scoring procedures of tests with non-objective items. The sets of scores obtained in the test from two raters can also be subjected to Pearson's R to get the reliability coefficient. The other type of reliability looks at the internal consistency of responses to all items with the assumptions that all items in the test are measures of the same construct. There will be inter-item consistency in the responses of the test takers. The procedure will require how the individuals perform in each item. Goddard-Richardson Formula 20 KR20 will be applied to estimate the reliability coefficient. Here's the formula. With RTT as the reliability coefficients of whole test and the number of items in the test, or letter sigma or the standard deviation of the whole test, and PQ is cross product of the number of the students who pass and the number who fall in each item. The procedure for estimating reliability are summarized in Table 13.2. The types of reliability: test-retest, parallel form, split half, inter-rater, and item consistency. Expected consistency are across time, across forms, across items, across readers, across items. There are test administration, data, and statistical analysis. Establishing the validity and estimating the reliability of tests are given attention in this last chapter to emphasize their significance in the development process of large-scale tests. This test documentations must include how reliability is estimated, and this may not be limited to only one type. The more evidences this area of the test reliability, the more convincing the test becomes of its fidelity to measurement consistency in terms of validity. Supporting evidences for the possible scores, interpretations, and actions recommended should be effectively reported. These two technical merits speak well of the test usability for the recommended usage. With large-scale student assessment now growing in acceptance all over, it is important that the integrity of the development process be upheld. Again and again, good day everyone. Thank you for watching and listening. This is our group, which is our topic, Development Large-Scale Student Assessment Test. Thank you.